opening up another Carrie Stevens streamer pattern today. This is the Shang's Special. If you've been following along on any of these videos, you know I'm doing a lot of these flies from the Hilliard book on Carrie Stevens. In there, it's mentioned that there's a gentleman by the name of Charles E. Wheeler who was instrumental in getting Carrie started in fly tying. He actually suggested that she should pick up some fly tying, and he gave her some materials and things. She created 3 different patterns for this gentleman. Now, Charles Wheeler went by the nickname of Shang. I don't know where that comes from or how he ended up with that nickname, but she has 3 different patterns that she did for him. One is called the Charles E. Wheeler. The other is Shang's Favorite, which I did a video not too long ago on, and this is the Shang's Special. It's a straightforward pattern in terms of the body and the other components on it, made very much like a lot of her other flies that she does, but this one uses a full jungle cock feather, and one of the longer feathers that has the eyes on them. So generally it's just the eyes that are used for cheeks in these, but this uses 2 of full-length feathers in the wing, and I just thought it was rather interesting, handsome fly. So that's the Shang Special. I'll get started tying. Start the Shang's Special with my hook and the vise. This is a Partridge CS15-9X, and I am using this hook. It's a little bit shorter than, say, the larger, heavier Carrie Stevens hooks, the CS15s, and it has to do with the length of the jungle cock feathers that are used in the wing, and when I get to the wing I'll explain that to you, but this one's a little bit shorter in that regard, so that's why I'm using it. To debarb the hook, and I'm going to attach my thread. The Shang Special does have a silver tinsel body, but I'm going to go ahead and start out with a white thread. This is a Danville 3/0 monocord in white. I'm going to lay down a layer of thread along the hook shank because I'm going to put a little bit of flex cement along the thread to help glue the Mylar tinsel down. There's no tag or tail on this, so I'm just running a layer of thread down the shank and then back up, and I'll actually tie in the tinsel up the end of the body and put a double layer of tinsel on. With my thread up here at the end of the body, I'm going to tie in my tinsel. I'm using this is just a Danville silver and gold Mylar tinsel size 10. I want to make certain that I've got enough here because I'm going to be putting in a double layer. Now I am tying this in. There's a number of different ways you can do this, but I'm going to tie this in with the gold side up here, and it will flip over to the silver. I'm going to flip this over to the silver, and I'm actually going to press and kind of fold that, crease that down. That will get covered up. Before I put that tinsel on, I want to put a small layer of some flex cement. This is just some Dave's flex cement. You could use, if you've got preferred head cement or something like that, you could use that too. But what this is going to do, it's going to glue that Mylar to the thread a little bit. You don't have to do this. In the old days, they didn't have the Mylar. They had regular metal tinsel, which was nice because the metal tinsel didn't have the memory that the Mylar tinsel does. It has a lot of memory in it. So if you slip up just a little bit in wrapping that, it all comes unraveled. The bigger issue is that if you're fishing this fly and something breaks that mylar, it'll all come unraveled. With a little bit of cement along the hook shank, it's going to help to keep that from happening. It's going to make it a little bit more durable. I'm just going to wrap this all the way down. Touching turns, I don't have to be that concerned if I get a little bit of a gap between those touching turns, because the second layer, when I come back up, will help to cover those up. Secure that in right at the back of the head space. Advance my white thread forward and change over to the red thread. Shang Special has, the head of it is a black head with a red band, but I'm starting out with a red. This is a 70 Denier Danville in red as the base, and then I'll add the black bands. Otherwise, if I try to put the red on top of the black, it darkens up the red a lot. Shang's Special does have an underbelly of some bucktail. So I've already taken a clump, maybe about a pencil in diameter, and cleaned it up. I'm going to tie that in so it goes just a little bit beyond the bend. Trim away the excess. A little wax on my thread here. This bucktail is from lower on the tail than I generally like, and it's flaring, so I'm going to put a couple wraps in back here just to try and collect that down just a little bit, to keep that from flaring too much. I'll tie in the throat. The throat is just some white Schlappen. The recipe just calls for white hackle, but I like to use the Schlappen on this. I tie in 3 clumps of Schlappen. I want the tips to be about halfway down the body. clean up this area right here for the wing. Just want to smooth that off a little bit so I have a nice platform to tie the wing in. The wing on the Shang special starts out with some Peacock Herl. You want to get about 4 to 5, somewhere 5 to 6 is okay, I think. Peacock Herls, go ahead and I'm going to take these right from the feather, trim those off, getting the tips fairly even. You don't have to be perfect, but you can even those up a little bit. Tie those in as long as the underbelly. Trim away the excess. Now for the rest of the wing. On the Shang special, the wing is 2 jungle cock feathers, full-length jungle cock feathers. So you're looking at the entire feather, such as this one right here, that is going to be the wing. That's going to be the main part of the wing, and then there is a shoulder. The recipe calls for a duck breast feather dyed red. This is actually a whiting hen cape feather that's dyed red, and then a cheek of jungle cock. I had mentioned earlier about choosing this particular size hook, and part of the reason is a lot of times you're choosing your jungle cock. These long feathers don't have the eyes on them, so you're not using those. You're choosing these jungle cock feathers. A lot of times you don't have the length that you might want, or there may be something wrong with the feather. I'll grab one right here. This would be a good feather for the wing. Right here. And that one would probably have the good length on it if I wanted to use, say, a CS15, a longer hook, because you're going to need not just the eyes out here, you're going to need the broader part of the feather right across here as well. Now, I can't go too much further back. I'm getting into too much fluff, and that's fine for this hook. But you have to keep that in mind when you're choosing the hook that you're tying on this. Your particular feathers may not be long enough for a much longer hook. This is about the right size. This lighter grayer area is going to be covered up by the shoulder. So it's something to keep in mind when you are deciding what hook to tie on. If you choose a pattern and you're going to tie on it, you have to look at your materials and determine, do you have feathers that are long enough for that particular hook style as well as the size of the hook. So I've got my wings here. I trimmed away the excess rachis on those. These are already prepped. I'm going to tie these in. Put one on my side. And the recipe, particularly in this recipe, a lot of times the recipes don't specify anything about the length of the wings or the tail or like the underbelly or anything. But in this instance, it does specify that you want your wings the same length as the underbelly and the Peacock Herl. These are just a tad longer. I'll tie in the second wing. See how it looks. Both of those in, I am going to tidy up this space with the red thread. Smooth everything off, make certain everything's covered. I want to make certain I get any of the rachis from that wing or anything all covered up. Put a little wax on my thread. I'm going to put in a whip finish and secure the red thread. My black thread is a Danville 70 Denier in black. I'm going to attach my thread on the back side of the head here. Get a few wraps in to secure the tag end, and I cut that off. I want to make certain I'm getting where the black band is going to be. All the red is covered up. But I don't want to bulk up that band. So kind of a dance you have to do in a way to make certain you're getting things covered up right. You just have to pay attention to where your thread wraps are going so you don't get a wider, in other words, so the black band in the back and the front don't look like they're wider than the rest of the head. Easy to do if you're not paying attention to your thread wraps. With the black band in the back in place, I'll attach my thread right behind the eye of the hook, working my way backward to secure the tag end of that thread. Now I will wrap back. I want the black band in the front and the back to be about the same as the red in its width. A little bit of wax on my thread, and I'll do a whip finish. Trim away the thread. So that pretty much completes the Shang special. I've got some head cement I'm going to put on here. I'll come back and put 2 coats of a clear lacquer on here to secure that. The lacquer doesn't necessarily, it does give a little bit of sheen to it, but it's not there to give it like a nice gloss. It's there mostly for protection of the thread wraps. A little bit of glue in the eye there. You want a Peacock Herl down through there. There you go. So there is the Shang special. Interesting fly. Some of her flies do have full-length jungle cock feathers. A number of them, they don't have the long eyes, but they use the longer black and white feathers right here, which I think are very handsome. I think they're very attractive. So there's the Shang special. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.